Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has recently donated. Thank you, Mr. or Miss Anonymous, whoever donated $900. It's brought me up over 4,000 now. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your help. Really, thank you. I'm glad you have faith in my work, and I'm glad that you are helping me get on the road so I can go back to all the locations I was trained in. Because there's so many amazing things I would love to be able to show you. So again, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Sorry I'm teary, but your generosity is overwhelming, to be honest. Well, anyway, enough of me crying. They're tears of joy. The group that, the mixed group that I've been interacting with over the last month or so, they're really, they're being really open during the daytime. They're allowing me to see them quite regularly. On my next paycheck, as long as I got enough to spare, otherwise I might actually go dip into my funds a little bit to go get a telephoto lens for my phone camera and some sort of a stabilizing device, maybe a little tripod for my phone, because that group has been so just right there on that stream edge every time I've been down there. And there'll be different ones, and they'll sit in different locations. Sometimes they sit in the same locations. But with the fact that they are just so openly there and come down during the day, I really want to try to get some better footage of them because I have an opportunity to. And I think a little telephoto lens, if I can get one to work for my camera on my phone, should be optimal for, what I have right now in hand, instead of trying to, use my other camera and then figure out how to upload it, yada yada. It'd be just easier for me to get a little telephoto lens. That way I can just directly upload, as usual, raw footage from my phone. Maybe that will give you guys even better look at them. I know it's kind of a pain that I'm screenshotting and isolating, but I want you all to understand, they do sit in the brush line and they will make themselves very apparent during the day. And with the variety of cryptids in this particular group, it looks like they're not just dogmen, they're sun-faced people, they're guanche. It's a very, very mixed group, including the ant person. I never expected to ever see an ant person in my life. I'm so glad that I had that chance to see that kind of an individual, because there's much lore about the ant people being, our guides and our protectors, and helping us during times of, when this planet has gone through major catastrophes. The ant people always come. Many of the tribes talk about them coming to help us. My grandmother told lore of them. But the picture I got the other day, and I've seen him come down a couple times, I just wasn't sure I'd ever be able to get a picture of him. But to be able to get a picture of an ant person, to me, that's very spiritual. It's very important to document that kind of thing, because they're very well known in lore. Sorry for all the tears. I just added the second building to my work schedule this week, so I'll be pulling 9-hour days, 3 days out of the week, and then 5-hour days the other 2. So I'm going to be kind of busy. Next week's going to be school in, because I'm doing janitor work for Montessori schools now. So it's going to be a real busy week for me next week when everything gets going and classes are started again. So it might be a little minute before I can post more, but I'm going to try to go this weekend again. Sorry, I've been really allergy ridden the last couple days. My eyeball's been glued shut in the morning, put it that way. So hopefully I'll be able to get down there to the mixed group over this weekend. I found that I can rent that area I got to look into the costs. But if I can rent that location for a weekend or even a day, hopefully this next summer, sometime I'll be able to rent that location. Maybe I could invite some of you to come down and we can all start taking pictures. Because that group sits along that other stream bedside really regularly. And I think it would be a great experience for people to be able to see them at just a couple 100 feet away, you know. I know they're hard to see because they sit in the shadow and the shade really well. But, they're very open. They communicate pretty well. Again, I left my inhaler in the car. Go figure. But that's in the works. I got to do some more research about, how much the fees are to rent that place, whether or not I can have people camp there. Group, there wouldn't be much of a, it would be kind of a secluded group, maybe a dozen people, because there isn't a lot of parking there. But I will look into what I can do, and if I can facilitate, a bigger group, because there are more sections to that, you know, open range area, so to speak. If I were able to bring in porta potties, water horse, stuff like that, maybe I could do a weekend event, which I could maybe get 30, 40 people in there pretty easily, maybe 50. I've got to see what the site's requirements are though first before I talk out my because I don't want to get everybody excited over something I may not be able to do. Let me do some more research, see what can be done, and whether or not I can do a day event there or do a camping event. It would be really interesting, in my opinion, to be down there at night, though, because I bet they're going to be quite active at night. And it would be really interesting to have some people down there to see what occurs and if we can get some good footage or not. So I'll look into that. I got to go talk to the camp director there and see what the policies are. I just haven't stopped to talk to him yet. And look into the website, maybe make a few phone calls, see what I can arrange. So more on that later. But this is just kind of an impromptu. I wanted to thank everybody who has recently donated and for people who have, you know, put in recurring donations of $10, $20, $30 a month. That really helps me out. I still haven't touched any of that money. I'm going to try not to. I want to make sure, I have a good chunk of change to fix my vehicle's transmission, get a pop-up. That way I can utilize my camping package and be able to go to even more locations. But being able to have an operational base that I can move. I could take my vacations. I could go down to the Eel River or down at the Redwoods for a week and just sit at different locations I'm aware of, film, and, post when I get back to civilization. Because a lot of the areas I know about, a lot of the places that we went, there is no cell reception. There's nothing. You're out in the raw wild, so it'd be nice to go and uh, document those locations. It's really exciting for me to even think about the possibility I could go back and document those locations. It'd be really awesome. There's so much to see in some of those places. And yes, I'm out in a public area. There's bicycle paths that extend from town all the way out to Dorina Lake. So you might see people riding behind me every once in a while. Let me back up. And if you guys have any questions or thoughts, comments, please feel free to throw them out there right now. Hey, Pablo. Hey, Neelish. Hi, everybody. Hey, Trevor. Oh, thank you, Carmen. Well, I have 5 crushed discs in my back. Technically, I'm not even supposed to be able to walk right now. I was in a motorcycle accident in 96. I whiplashed my spine. I dislocated my head a 1/4 inch off the top of my spine. Dislocated my hip bracket 3/4 of an inch the opposite direction because it was trapped under my motorcycle and it was still running and kicking and just ripped me up pretty good. I also put out 7 ribs and 6 vertebrae. So jogging for me, I have to find the right kind of ground. It has to be soft enough for me to be able to run on, or I really pay the price later. I'm just wearing a tank top. It's freaking hot here. It's in the 80s today. Um, so, yeah, that's why I don't do a lot of running. I have a really screwed up back. It's also why I don't free climb anymore because of the crushed disc in my neck. Makes my hands go numb, so I can't trust myself to free climb and keep a grip. I used to free climb a lot when I was younger. And I was a distance runner in the desert, when I was out on my turnout. Hey Ray, how you doing? So, yeah, that particular little mixed group really hangs out a lot during the daytime in several locations up and down that stretch of stream. It'd be really nice to go in and get some really nice, clear, clean footage with, a telephoto lens, because I think it would be doable. And I got to mess around with my camera settings, figure out how to lighten up my, the images as I'm filming, see if I can just, lighten that while they're sitting in those shade spots, in those little dark spots, and be able to, kind of cameo each individual as they are sitting in the different spots. I think that would help people understand what they do during the day. Because all cryptids, whether people understand it or not, are out during the day. In fact, 70% of their foraging is done during the day. Nighttime, you're dealing with hunters in groups of 3 to 5, or you're dealing with individuals that are guarding a group. So that's why you're going to have a lot more negative interactions during the night than during the day. They won't get too negative with you during the day unless you're really intruding or doing something you shouldn't be doing. Then they'll let you know. And these guys don't throw anything at me anymore. This is week 5 of me being there. They've stopped throwing stuff at me. They only threw 2, 3 times. They threw limbs at me from across the stream. And I'd say, oh, sorry, excuse me, I'll move. I'd back out of the area, let them cross over, because I knew they wanted to cross. And it's evident by how many are sitting on the other side of the stream, what's going on. So whenever they want to cross, I just ignore them. And my dog has learned to ignore them because we're always around them. That and 7 months of us living in a yurt next to a dog man, she really had to tolerate that guy a lot because he was always around our yurt. He was always taking our windows off and he was always trying to grab for her and that sort of thing. So she has learned how to handle herself really well around cryptids. She knows to ignore them. Occasionally she'll point one out if it's too close. You'll see her nose in the direction where they're at. But other than that, she won't approach them unless they're friendly. At least that's been the case so far, thank goodness. And she's really attuned to them. She's very aware that they are around her. And she keeps a good set in her head. She doesn't go after the young. She doesn't chase. Oh, sorry, that was my book writer sending me a message. He's very interested about the Ant-Man picture, which I would really like to get better pictures of. That thing is huge. I've seen it move into position a couple of times. It just walks out of the woods and all you see is just this dark mass, and then boom, he's right there at the edge of the tree line. And he always comes to the same locations, probably because it's got good cover for him. Next time he's not in that spot, I will take a photo so that you can tell, when he's not there, when he's there. Yeah, that also helps clarify that they move during the day. They don't care. They really don't. Okay, let's go back up. Uh, yeah, actually a back massage would be really nice, but you gotta have strong hands because I have very thick muscles still. Yeah, I could still see without glasses. I just need them for reading. I've been farsighted all my life. Thanks, are you sure? What about skinwalkers? Well, skinwalkers are part of the Navajo Nation. Uh, See, several hundred years ago, there were a couple of families, medicine people within the Navajo Nation, that took up dark medicine, and they started cannibalizing their own family members in order to take their form. Skinwalkers are actually dark, very dark medicine people. They're not, they're not right in the head. Sorry. They kill and eat the creatures that they want to take the form of. They create magical spells in order to take form throughout the process. It's a big ceremony, magical thing that they do. It's dark magic. Don't involve yourself with it. Eventually, a skinwalker will be unable to transform. They will be stuck. And they will either be stuck in the primary form that they have chosen, or they will be in a shifted form between forms, where they can never be one or the other again. It takes several hundred years for them to get that way. But that's because of the nature of the magic they're practicing. It will eventually destroy them. That's the unfortunate thing about that sort of, I guess you call it witchcraft for lack of a better word, dark shamanism, whatever you want to call it. Very much not like Deer Society people or any of the other society people. Their practices don't involve cannibalism. They don't involve dark magic. They don't involve incantations or anything like that. So skinwalkers are typically only found on the Navajo Res because that's where skinwalkers came from originally. If you find them off the res, it's because the individual that is a skinwalker has moved. Now, when I was on res up north, one of the people that was on the ranch up there was actually a skinwalker. It was a Caucasian individual that had learned the dark magic. That individual took the form of a cat, a black cat, go figure. When we finally figured out there was a skinwalker living amongst us, we killed the black cat. The skinwalker, the individual who was the skinwalker, tried to raise the cat. I do have pictures in another computer on a disk of that scenario and the fact that the cat had been reanimated briefly. We shot that thing probably a dozen times trying to kill it over the space of 3 days before we actually managed to kill it. But the skinwalker tried to raise the cat again. You could see where the cat had moved. They dug it up. They did an incantation. You could tell there was spell work around it, that sort of dark crap. And they tried to reanimate the individual animal they were going to re-inhabit to walk out of there with. But I nixed that. I salted it and did a counter. He goes, well, some of us medicine people don't like that stuff. Went through, I also worked with another medicine man from the res. We cleansed the property. We said proper prayers to the Creator to protect it. And we finally drove the skinwalker off the property. They physically packed up and left after we finally destroyed a couple of the different creatures that it was changing into. But they're a real pain to deal with. They're very powerful. They'll invade your dreams. They'll mess with you in other ways. They'll attach stuff to you. You have to be very careful around skinwalkers. And once you get rid of them, they're done for. But They are not easy to battle. They are not easy to get rid of, and it's not a cakewalk dealing with them at all, because they will be quite verbose about not wanting to leave. They will be quite evil in some of the stuff that they do. Do they have day watchers? Do skinwalkers have day watchers? No, skinwalkers are usually a single individual that works alone. If you have a pair of them together, then you have two family members together. People that, you know, cannibalize the rest of their family. Could be a brother and sister, could be, an aunt or an uncle, whatever. But somebody in that family has done some really nasty stuff. And no, they use a lot of magic to see where they're going and see you. So they're not like other cryptids. They're not like anything else. They're a thing unto themselves. Okay. Trevor, um, there are sabi. Sabi is a word that means teacher. Also means master, as in martial arts master. I am aware of your ilk towards your perception of things. However, my channel is an educational channel about my native lore, about my native history, and about the things that natives, my tribal people, understood about the individuals living around us. Mind you, what you think are Nephilim, which they are not, were already on the tribal roll calls. They were already recognized as human beings. Basically, you're getting your mythology mixed up. Sorry. These creatures have been here for over 300,000 years. Or 300, excuse me, over 300 million years. Sorry, not part of the modern mythology cycle. They are from a far more ancient time. Yes, I'm Christian. Yes, I believe in creationism. However, there is only so much of that that can be proved. Okay, Trevor, as long as you're here to learn, because, I've read the Bible, and yeah, there is one likely candidate for the idea of surviving Niflheim, the Kandahar giants. They don't have hair on their bodies. They're red-headed. They have elongated skulls. They have double rows of teeth. They have 6 fingers. That fits all of the descriptions, and they're incredibly tall, over 12 feet. That fits all the descriptions of a Niflheim. The Bible may have been talking about cryptids, not understanding, that they've always been here. I don't know. I wasn't there. And until we have time travel and can figure out who, when, and where, and why the Bible was written the way it was, we aren't going to have that answer. But, native lore talks about many different types of cryptids that have been here for hundreds of millions, if not billions of years. The bear people and mole people, the badger people, stuff like that. They were here on this planet when it was still incredibly volcanic, had sulfuric acid rain, etc. That's 3.4 billion years ago. And there are petrified tracks all over this planet in bedrock from that time period, indicating that they were alive and living somehow in that kind of environment. They were incredibly adapted to the environment, is my guess, and potentially why they've been able to survive till now. They've survived a lot of history, and they probably have a lot of lore. That's, once we finally get some contact with them and the ability to communicate with them, then we might be able to understand some of their lore. They're willing to share it because Bigfoot will occasionally share lore with people. And so far, the lore that I've learned from the few that have shared with me, it can be confirmed in archaeological records, anthropological records in some cases. Others of it, though, you have to go back to geological record. In fact, a lot of it has to go back to geological record. Hey, Skeet, take a hike. Stay on topic or take a hike, or I will make you take a hike. Get me? All right. Then mind your manners, please. Oh, how old? You Polly in the history books old? Probably a bot. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Taz, you're probably right. Whatever. You're a human. Okay. So ask an intelligent question, please. I don't understand what you mean, Polly. I'm not a parrot. So anyway. Native Americans are very aware. Well, I'm 60. And I still have probably more muscle mass than you, kiddo. And now I don't have to work out, I just go climb trees. And I can probably still do 100 sit-ups. Or kip-overs. You bench 225? I don't know, I can still lift 1,750 pounds with my legs. And I can still pick my own body weight up. So anyway, just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has donated. I really appreciate you. I'm going to try to get that little telephoto lens for my phone, see if I can get you some better, cleaner pictures. That way there'll be less conjecture about what's in my videos. And if you go back through my videos, you will find probably a whole bunch of cryptids around me at all times. Actually, Skeet, the oldest member of my family died at 116, so I'm not that old yet. Yeah, you gotta be a bot, Skeet. If you aren't a bot, then you are using some very interesting tech. So anyway, are you sure it had some white imprints here? What does white stuff come from? Usually that's grease or fat on their hands because they will hand skin most of their animals. Bigfoot end up with a greasy film of animal fat that's not cured. That's what will leave the greasy prints that are really hard to get off stuff. It's because it's raw animal fat on their hands. Hey, Sunset. So yeah, that film is usually just the grease from all the different kinds of critters they skin throughout the day. If they pull the hide off a bear, you're going to have bear fat on your hands. Same for any other smaller critter, you're going to have that. animal fat on your hands because you've been hand pulling a hide. Something that, would commonly happen to me when I was out on my turnout, hand foraging and hand pulling hides. It takes forever to get the stuff off your hands. If you don't have soap, you gotta go wash your hands with sand and then water in order to get the grease off your hands from hand pulling a hide off the creature. So that's a common thing that will occur and makes it really easy to get prints if they happen to touch your window or draw on your vehicle or what have you. And these guys are starting to get curious, the ones down in the mixed group. They're starting to mess with my vehicle, leave handprints, that sort of thing. So hopefully I'll be able to get some more of that as well. You trapped your first coyote last year. Awesome, Skeet. Did you have to use Bane to get to it, or were you able to mask your scent in another way? Yeah, I used to trap coyote, wolves, bear. It's with my brother. That was so I'd have a background in bigger trapping. So yeah, you use the, normal Bane. Yeah, it's pretty common. It's one of the things a lot of trappers from old days always use. You save the bladder of the critter you're going after to mask your own scent. You have to mask the trap scent, your scent, etc. Then they'll approach the trap with ease and not be concerned about your scent being there. So, anyhow, yeah, this is the location where there are a few gugway. The gugway are down in the stream bed here. They're a little more difficult to get pictures of because they're even more reclusive than other groups. They stay very well hidden all the time. Even in the daylight, they will stay deep within the bush line. That's very rare that they will come out. Occasionally, I've gotten one adult in this area that will come approach me and one juvenile, but I'm going to wait to get footage of them till fall, a little later on, another month or so, because that's when they get a little more active and they will come a little closer to me. This particular group of Gugwayers, a group that I'm kind of familiar with. It's a group my mother introduced me to, and occasionally they'll growl at me though, but they are a little more receptive, and so far they haven't tried to nab me or my dog, so I'll go in and try to get some footage of them. I don't try to spend a lot of time though in their area, 20 minutes tops during the day, and I don't go into their area at night because they have the advantage. They can see me, I can't see them. Are you sure? Do Sabi have music or just always must stay quiet? In native lore, it's claimed that they will play music. In fact, most Bigfoot cryptids will play music of some sort. Some even make bone flutes, that sort of thing. I've found a couple of bone flutes. I have pictures of bone flutes. So they will occasionally play music, but they reserve that for way off in the distance. They're way out in the middle of nowhere. Usually it's for ceremonial purposes. There's a birth, or they're saying goodbye to a relative who has passed, that sort of thing. Sort of goes along with they feast during certain times, certain occasions, just like anyone would. So there is some indication that they lorically use music. And there is a tool that they use to make some of their tapping sounds with. It's actually reminiscent of an ancient musical instrument. It's a pair of rocks tied together. My grandmother called them kalacas. But I think there's an African form of that particular little tool, and I can't remember the name of the musical instrument. But you work it back and forth, and the rocks flip around your hand, and you can make double sound taps. You can change your tap ratio, that sort of thing, by how you move the cord and make the stones react. I have a picture of a dilapidated one that I found washed up or near a water source, like it had been left behind. That's from years ago up in Washington. I have to dig those pictures up to show it. That I gotta move my storage unit here this next month or so too, so it's gonna be a minute before I can get some more of my older pictures out and show those off. Joy. Well, Bigfoot sleep on the ground typically. Most cryptids actually sleep on the ground. There are only a few things that go into caves, and most stuff that goes into caves, like crawlers, space eaters, things like that, you don't want anything to do with. Vampires, those sorts of entities, all live in caves, as do the Komozotes. So natives have a warning: you don't sleep in a cave, especially one that you can't see the back of. If there's even just a 2-inch crack in the back of a cave, you don't sleep in it. It's an old warning to keep you safe from cryptids that might harm you, eat you, or drag you further down into the cave. No, thank you. Pass. So yeah, most all cryptids that I have ever tracked, they sleep on the bare ground. And they sleep in bed systems. So they'll, depending on the type of cryptid you're dealing with, the bed system will look different. If you're dealing with Oma, you'll have a bed system that looks a lot like a gorilla's. It's just open, smashed down area, unless they've built wigwam style, uh, you know, bent branches that make little cup holes that they can sleep in. They'll build those in a row or in a cluster, and they'll either be side by side or conjoined so you can go through the whole little complex, and that will be built up underneath brush line. It'll be covered with brambles. They will keep it very hidden, but typically they'll just push a tree over, sleep underneath the tree. If there's a big group, then they might build wigwams or kind of teepee-like structures. The sun-faced people use a ridgeline, and they stack sticks on either side, and sometimes will cover the top with moss, and they'll sleep under that like a bivouac area. It just depends on the cryptid. Dogmen, they typically sleep under the grass, so anywhere where there's tall grass, you'll find nests where they sleep. Or they will sleep in the mountains, they will sleep in dugouts. They'll dig into the ground, they'll build a little rock partition wall, and they'll cover it over with branches, make a roof, and they'll sleep down in that kind of den-like structure. And I've already documented and shown that. Location was where the food storage hole was. It had the really nice lid on it. The dogmen have a tendency to keep their food in hollows in their bed system. They're one of the only cryptids that do that, and that's probably because they can easily defend it and they don't care if something comes to them. It just means another meal. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, no, most of them just sleep on the ground. They don't sleep in caves. Dinos, face eaters, all of those sorts of things are what you're going to find in caves. And they're usually something you don't want to go in after, because most of the things that live in caves are cannibalistic, and they will cannibalize you as well. So keep that in mind. You know, don't tread there. So anyhow, this was kind of an impromptu. I wanted to say thank you to people and let you know what I'm thinking about doing next. Trying to get a little telephoto lens and a tripod for my phone. See if I can catch better footage of those guys by that stream bed. I also am very curious what they're going to act like during the winter, because I don't think they're going to change their behavior too much. I might see fewer of them during the winter, just because they don't always like to be out in the cold. Some of them will stay home and sleep in, so to speak. and it'd be nice to document their behavior over the winter as well. Excuse me. So hopefully that will be something I can do this winter since that particular site is open throughout the winter. It's one of the few locations I go to that's a little further out that is open. Otherwise, I'm out in the woods, way out. But there are some locations that are just a little too dangerous to be in, out in the deep woods. We have a couple of spots here that are very questionable because of what lives there. One area I'd like to try to document, but don't quite know how to do it yet. It's out in the coastal range, and whatever is up there is really uncool. The woods in that particular location are so dark you can't see 100 feet inside, even if you're standing at the brush line. It's all just black. So I don't really want to walk into it, not even during the day. And I have camped up by that site once, twice, been warned out of it, had something come up and bug my vehicle, sat way too close, had a way unfriendly feeling about it. But I do want to try to document that area just for curiosity's sake. The places not to go on your list, potentially. Are you sure? Trident 6. Saw one here that was a bit curved rather than straight. Any difference between straight and curved? Yes, sometimes you're dealing with a different cryptid if it's curved. It just depends on how it's laid, how it's placed, how it's formed. I'd have to see pictures to get an idea. For instance, bear people and badger people, when they are building structures, they will bend a tree over and plant the top of the tree in the ground, anchoring the top just like it's rooted on the other side, and then they will build their structure around that. And it's to stabilize it, to make sure that, it can withstand time. Those structures will last hundreds of years, and it will allow them to reuse the structure repeatedly because it will just continue to grow. And they would also put their markers the same way. If they didn't build a structure around a marker like that, it would mark a major trail system. So there is one surviving bear man trail marker in this area, and it marks the Okanagan Path, the California trail that goes up into the Okanagan. Unfortunately, in the last 150 years or so that it's been in place, people have built a city around it, and now it's that particular marker sits in somebody's front yard, and the archway is over their driveway. So when I take a still of that, I'm going to have to blur out the houses and vehicles around it, so I can just isolate the marker for you. I'll probably take a picture of that thing today, and maybe post it in my post section. Please refer back to my post section, because all of the videos that I do, anything that I find in my videos that is clear enough to get an enlargement of, I take a screenshot and I post it so you guys are aware of what's around Doggo and I when we were out in the field. And it does not matter if you are sitting in town or if you are in the deep woods. Their behavior will remain the same. They may be a little more aggressive in the deep woods compared to some other locations because they're not as used to seeing people or interacting with you. They also might be a little more dangerous in the deep woods. Just depends on what you're around. Be careful. But near cities, in parks, and around recreational areas, camping sites, things like that, they're pretty used to you. They're pretty used to seeing people. They're pretty used to taking what we leave behind, too. And they're going to be a lot easier to get daytime photos of. And that's part of the reason why I focus on those kind of sites, because it is really easy to get daytime photos in places where we are already both habituated to each other. They don't move in on you. They never have. We have literally built our cities on top of their foraging areas, in their bed system areas, in their hunting grounds. They aren't appearing at the edges of our city. We are just beginning to realize they're there now after 100+ years of occupation. We're going, oh God, they're really in my neighborhood. Yeah, they always have been. Now you're just noticing them because the topic is becoming a little more known. People are sharing information more. They're sharing their stories more. People are beginning to realize, I've got a phone in my hand. I can take pictures of these things when they're walking through my yard. They're not coming to your yard, though. They have always been there. You've built your house in the middle of their foraging area, or somebody in the past built the home in the foraging area. And now we're just realizing they're there. They're not coming to get you. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, Catherine, would you mind if I send you a few pics I took in the woods, England yesterday? I would be interested in, yes, by all means, please. I'm always interested in pictures because, I've got a lot of lore that I don't have pictures yet for. There are a lot of creatures, over 200 creatures that my grandmother had lore about. And I only have a dozen or so pictures of different kinds of cryptids. This last year, I've probably gotten another couple dozen, like the Ant-Man. I never thought I'd ever get a picture of an Ant-Man. The little Ishka baby. I didn't think I would ever see an Ishka baby. And somebody just recently sent me a picture of a baby Gugway in Australia. A little bald, primate looking guy. And, there are, there are many cryptids I have not spoken about yet because I don't have pictures of them yet. Eventually, even without pictures, I will have to describe them, but that's a few years down the road. I want to try to collect as many pictures and try to give you examples of what the different cryptids look like, and then give you the lore about each. Like the ant people, there are red and black forms of the ant people. Some are brown, but every native lore mentions the ant people as being a creature that comes to us when there's hard times on the surface, and they help us rebuild. They guide us. They teach us. They've always been beneficial. And just about every tribe that has lore about the ant people say it's time to worry when ant people come to the surface, because they are aware that something is about to change on the surface. So they're coming to watch and to see what is happening. And as things develop, they will interact more and more with people to help and guide and protect us. And there's a ton of lore from all tribes about ant people. Okay, Lewis, looking forward to a journey with you in the winter locations and what you find there. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll still find quite a bit because they do have a tendency to sleep. Most cryptids will sleep a little bit more during the winter. It's probably because there's less game. It's easier to ignore a hungry stomach if you're asleep. And then, you just minimally forage. They also have a tendency to keep food stores. They'll collect food in the fall and store it. In fact, my friend's property has Bigfoot on it. They've left alone all of the trees that we asked, just, give us some of those particular trees. They've left all those trees alone this year, but they stripped 5 other apple trees instead, which are trees we don't use, or they don't use. And I don't pick off either. I go down and I grab fruit from them all the time. They've got grapevines and pear trees, apple trees. I think they've got a nectarine or peach tree down there too that I snag off of. So there's plenty of fruit. There's probably 30 trees on that particular piece of property. So there's plenty of trees to go around. I was just last year, the Bigfoot came in fall and they stripped a pear tree, 2 apple trees, and all the grapes in one night. And we didn't get anything off of those trees. So, we asked for an agreement. They just shifted. Instead of taking from the trees that we'd like, they took from trees that we didn't mention, which is fine. And they've learned to use the pump house faucet now, so they can go and drink down at the well. They don't have to come to the house anymore. And there's an open hose bucket down there, so they can just retrieve water when they need it. Worked out really well for everybody. Are you sure palm-sized stones repeatedly put in a pathway? What could that be? Well, palm-sized stones, usually those bigger stones are markers. Usually, if it's an egg-shaped stone, it's indicating an individual moving through an area. It's saying this person's going this direction. If they're round stones, it's usually just an indication of number of individuals. It kind of depends on the stone's shape and size. But those are, what I'd think of off the top of my head. Aw, cat, thank you. Well, appreciate your wisdom. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Just trying to get back my my grandmother's lore, so that there's, a library of the information somewhere that can be referred to and drawn from, and maybe hopefully added to in the future, because, I think I'm giving more information in a different way that other researchers aren't. A lot of researchers are worried about holding back, not showing everything immediately. Well, there's so many of them out there to discover. It really doesn't matter how much you hold back. It's not really going to benefit research as a whole. It's more beneficial just to put it out there, because it will give everybody a chance to examine it, learn from it, understand it, utilize that information, go forward, collect more of that same type of information, or it might help clarify what somebody is seeing, interacting with, or what might be around them. I feel that it's far more beneficial to publish tracks, structures, and daily activities, and the pictures of different types of cryptids, just to clarify that there's more than just a patty type out there, because there are hundreds, and they're far more numerous than people realize. People think there are maybe 30, 40,000. There was an estimated 40,000 Bigfoot in this state alone. Some people think that's the entire population. Personally, I think the population internationally is in the millions. I think they're probably in the millions here in the United States alone. And internationally, who knows? Okay, those are people only in America. I don't know about that one. I know that many of the natives, different tribes, all have lore about the ant people. And I don't know if they are, if there is mythology or lore about them from other countries. I haven't looked into that. That might be an avenue to research right there. But I know southwestern Indians, the Navajo, the Hopi, all of those areas have a lot of lore about the ant people, a lot of lore about interacting with them, and how they've helped us in the past during, times this planet has been hit by asteroids or had volcanic phenomenon that was very destructive, or earthquakes, flooding, etc., that have been brought on by some sort of terrestrial event. The ant people always show up. They always help. They always protect us. They always do what they can to let us go forward as a culture. There are even stories about them taking us underground with them at times to live with them in order to preserve us from the destruction that's happening on the surface of this world. That happened at the end of the Younger Dryas about 1,200 years ago, when we were, or 12,000, excuse me, almost 13,000 years ago, when we were hit by asteroids and this planet was pretty well ripped apart. I mean, here in the Northwest, we were covered by about a 2-foot layer thick coating of calcium carbonate powder, and 97% of everything on the planet supposedly died off just 13,000 years ago. This is where we're at 13,000 years later, population-wise. So there's a lot out there, and potentially there's a lot of things that we have no clue about too, because there might not be even lore. Some of these things might live so deep in the woods or so deep in the oceans, we never see them. I know, I know. Yeah, you want to go down a stream here next? Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to probably cut it at about 1 hour here. This was just kind of an impromptu. Uh, yeah, Blue-Eyed Northern. No worries. I'm glad to. Glad to share. Are you sure? Will Sabi or any cryptid eat fruit or anything from a can? Type pull tab open lid. Yeah, they'll figure it out. In fact, one of the groups that I research here, I was really surprised when I went and when I was hitting the pictures of the tool and the crossover across the log, and I got the picture of the little baby Ishka just 6 feet away from me. I had run across, of all things, hidden in a hollow tree stump, a whole bunch of canned goods that required a can opener to get into. When I was examining it, I was told to piss off, basically, by the cryptid. And then I asked, you got a can opener for this stuff, or you're not going to be able to get into the can? Otherwise, they'll just squeeze the can and break it. They'll pop the top off it just by squeezing it. Some of them, though, have mastered using can openers. Pull top stuff works so too. Just warn them not to wring the inside. They'll cut their finger. And don't tip it to their mouths, to cut by accident. Tell them it's sharp when they open the pull tab. And they do understand pull tab stuff. The gravel pit dogmen, they actually use pull tab lids, the can lid when it's removed, to cut into rotten material like wood, looking for termites, stuff like that. So they will utilize human items a lot, and they're not dumb. They figure it out. So just like being able to unscrew something and screw something back on, a lid, being able to pull a tab or use a can opener, it's not past them. I even taught Jen how to use a can opener. Took her a minute. She had to understand the concept of how to clip it and then how to turn and hold it. But she got it. She figured it out. And I would give her canned fruit all the time, and she'd be over there in the corner using her can opener. And she took that with her when she left our ranch, so I'm sure she still knows how to open cans. She probably taught her youngsters too. So it's possible. Just like, teaching them how to use a lighter. Tell them young ones got to use it because your hands are too big. You might even get one of those great big huge $5 big lighters. The great big ones, freaking Bigfoot size anyway. Use one of those. They like bags to carry stuff in. So there's a lot of items that we utilize that they will also utilize and become familiar with. I mean, the dog man at my yurt, he was constantly turning stuff off and throwing switches and stuff, so he definitely was very aware of our physical world and how it operates. Hey, Phil. Okay, are you sure what particular event could this current ant person be showing up for, do you think? Well, if the native prophecies are any indication, uh, we're waiting for the blue kachina. And I think the blue kachina is passing through right now. It's an asteroid. Red kachina already passed through about 10 years ago. So we're back in the cyclic point within our solar system where we are going to be heading through an asteroid belt in our Milky Way. When that occurs, we usually get hit by asteroids, or we have earthquake and volcanic anomalies that occur, and our sun will start to blink just because of all the debris that we're passing through and all the different fields that we're passing through. So there's a good chance that there's something coming our way here soon, and might be the reason why they're here, or why they're making themselves known again. That, or it could be just all the stress we put on the planet itself. Because there are, Black Elk's visions also claim that when the earth was covered by spider webs, telephone poles, and wires, there would be a time when many people passed into the next world, and our world would go through a very tribulating time. It just depends on the lore you ascribe to. Something may be on the way, though. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling it. Yeah, they might be here exactly to do that, Louise. Yep, they always help us restart. Maybe we are in a constant state of fear as intended. Well, there's a lot of people pushing that kind of thing on us. If it isn't comply, 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 it's be afraid. The boogeyman's after you. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. I don't have time to be afraid. I gotta go to work. Yep, that in itself creates unrest and chaos within our society. To feel uneasy in your culture, yes, definitely does that. And the way we currently live doesn't promote cohesion. I hate to say it. It promotes individualism, which is fine, but without a cohesive society overall, it becomes a destructive path. It becomes an egotistical path, unfortunately. And maybe that's part of what's going on. We're just starting to fall apart in our own way. Yeah, no worries. It's hard for me to get frightened of things too. I know there's nothing I can do to stop stuff, so just accept it. Go on. There's no point in being afraid. If you're afraid, you can't think. If you can't think, you can't act. Because if you're afraid, you're only going to respond. You'll respond in a fear way, in a reactive way instead of an action way. It's not good to do. Leads to misjudgments and folly. You might end up screwing yourself by accident. Maybe you aren't, but telling people that the end of the world is near is perpetuating fear. No, I'm not saying that at all. Our world will go on. It's gone on for 4.6 billion years. Until something really, cracks our shell, our planet will survive. There will always be something that survives. There always has been. To think that there is an end to this world, unless we go supernova somehow or get, completely blown apart, there's going to be life on this planet. There always has been. And even, ancient lore where we were collided into by another planet didn't destroy us. It just added more cryptids to our planet, added cryptids to their planet, and both planets went on. I don't believe in that sort of thing. I know that our world will go on. You or I may not be in it, but our world will go on, and something else will be living here. Yeah, I fear for my family too. My concern are the people that will be caught off guard by whatever happens, if anything happens. I mean, we've already gone through our pole shift, and people didn't even realize it. That's why we saw two suns in the sky, and why the sun was setting and rising on the wrong sides momentarily. We lived through that, and pole shift is just magnetic shift. It's just a point. It's not the planet's surface. It's not. It's an energy point. It's not a physical thing. It's a energetic thing. Yes, people are waking up, being positive. That's a good thing. Yeah, thanks, nobody. Is there any lore around the rapture? Not in Native American history, no. We uh, we don't even have a hell. Uh, in in Native perspective, you got Summerland. You go back to the Creator, and you go back to Summerland. Hell is if you get caught here. You know, you take up dark magic, you take up dark practices. That's considered hell. It's a. It isn't a before or after life. It's present, and then what you will experience because of what you choose to do here will always be with you physically. You know, you never escape that. That's why you don't take up skinwalkering. You will eventually be unable to change. You will be permanently stuck in purgatory, in hell. And you will never go on to Summerland. Yep, ego. Ego is definitely our personal struggle. Yeah, it's always the end of the world for somebody. So true. Okay. You you scared Jody. Healthy fear keeps you alive. But there are so many people who think they are being helpful while you're consistently talking about the end times, when in reality the reason they do that is their own selfishness. That, and you know, if you think about our planet as being an energetic place that capitulates to what we think about, then thinking about that sort of thing is creating it, is it not? Huh. Self-fulfilling prophecy in that case. Okay, you scared Jody. The funny part is the spreading fear is what the devil would want. Yet most of these people are very religious. Yeah, that's always the startler for me as well. That is always what gets me. It's like, no, 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 guys, slow down. Slow your roll. Take a step back. Look at what you're doing. Look at what you're thinking. Hey, fellow Weiss, I need to thank you for what you are doing. Acknowledging what I've seen has been very helpful. Phil, you have had some amazing experiences in your location. And yeah, wow. You have also some really good knowledge about the different cryptids in your area. Some, some of the stuff you told me about is noteworthy to say the least. I really appreciate everything that you shared with me. You've got some really interesting experiences, and I'm glad that you talk about them and share them with people. It's amazing. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you very much. Well, it's getting warmer. Hey, baby girl. Yeah, she's getting hot. I think I'm going to take her down to the stream. Sorry it's a little bit of a shorter, you know, gig today. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I've raised a little over $4,000 now. I can hit my $5,000 mark. I can get my transmission fixed. And then I'll start saving for an RV pop-up little unit. I'm so looking forward to that. I God, this is going to be so much fun when I can get on the road and do these sorts of things and document this stuff for you all. It's going to be fun. It'll be, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to love it. It'd be really nice to be able to share all this stuff with you guys. My beef with ultra-religious, high in mightiness, yet Jesus spake of love, right? Love thy brother as thyself. Respect each other. Take care of each other. Help each other. That's what he was preaching, Don't take advantage of each other. Don't steal from each other. Besides, what did he do when they were stealing and robbing from each other in the temple? I believe he went all tax collector on them and beat them and kicked over their stands. So there's a clue there. Besides, Messiah means warlord in Hebrew. That's something a lot of people don't realize. He was a fighter, not just a teacher. He was also a protector. Oh, you're welcome, everybody. Thank you for your prayers. Really appreciate every one of you. Oh my God, Phil. I'll pray for your vehicle not to cost you an arm and a leg. Hopefully it's something readily fixable. Thank you, everybody, for being here on this brief little, escapade. I really appreciate you all for just showing up. And I'll try to do something more organized. I'm going to have a little more time free on Tuesdays and Thursdays because those are my 5-hour days. And I don't have to go into work till about 10 at night. So I'll be able to do maybe some more organized lives during those days while I'm not working. And hopefully that will give a better, maybe I can do a little research, do some of the lives I've been wanting to do. It's been kind of getting used to the new schedule and getting organized and getting everything supplied because school's starting next week and I don't have a lot of supplies that I need, so I'm trying to get that stocked and dealt with. So hopefully I will have a little more free time. I can do a little more research and I can do a little more succinct talking about things. I know, baby, I'm being too long-winded. All right, guys, you have a great one. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all. I'll keep you updated, and as soon as I can get a telephoto lens for my camera, I'm going to do it, because they're pretty reasonable. I think they're about 30-40 bucks. So that's going to be my first things. Try to do that. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.